Welcome back, everybody. My name is Pritesh here with Kaizen Crypto. Thank you all so much for joining. I hope you guys are doing well. Today, I'm joined by Shweta. She is the stake pool operator for kBlocks stake pool. Shweta, thanks so much for joining. How are you doing today?
Hi everyone. Hi Pritesh. Thanks a lot for having me. It's been 8 months since we have talked on Kaizen Crypto, so it's a pleasure being back on the show. I love the show, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a while. Lots happened since then. So in this video, hopefully we can get a chance to talk about what you've had going on with Goguen and the Plutus Pioneers Program. We can talk about a whole bunch of different things regarding your experience with that. So I guess to get things started, so you are a member of the Plutus Pioneers Program. So can you tell us a little bit about that? And also if you could tell us a little about the Alonzo testnets and your experience so far.
Perfect. Let's start with that. So, Alonzo is a hard fork of Cardano blockchain, as we all know, and it has already started in testnet. And currently, we are testing the basic functionalities on it. So, just to sum it up, there are various stages of in which the testing of Goguen will take place. So, currently, we are in stage one, that is the Alonzo Blue, and it is supported by a small group of around 20 SPOs, partners, and Plutus Pioneers. So in this stage, we are testing the basic functionalities along with simple Plutus scripts. So stage two is about to get released soon, hopefully next week, which will be Alonzo Blue. It will open the testnet to almost 500 users, and we will be testing a demo dApps, which are smart contracts, along with other things. Then once Alonzo White is successfully tested, then we will enter into stage three, which is Alonzo Purple, and it will launch somewhere in mid-July, followed by Alonzo Red and Alonzo Black. So these stages will invite more and more users to test the end-to-end functionalities of smart contracts on Cardano. And if all goes well, then we will launch Alonzo on mainnet in September. Fingers crossed for that. And it will mark the beginning of Goguen era in Cardano ecosystem.
That's so exciting. It's really cool. You've been a pioneer in all this, so it's really nice to get your perspectives on it. So as far as what you're saying right now, so we're going through this phased process. So I guess what it started as was like a small group of people, but then as we go through it, it's like they're adding more people in. So in your experience so far, have you had to go through and train people that are coming into the Pioneers program, or is that how is it working exactly to bring on new people?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, Alonzo Blue was initially open to six SPOs, which are part of Guild and Plutus Pioneers. And after they set up their nodes to Alonzo era in testnet, they were asked to get one buddy each from SPO community. And I was so lucky that Marek from Stake Nuts pool, he chose to invite me, and I was super excited when I got the invitation to be a part of it. Then Marek is my go-to buddy in Alonzo testnet for any queries. And saying that, the entire team is so wonderful, and it's so beautiful to watch them, channeling all their energy to finally release these 5 years of hard work. So yeah, just it's such an amazing experience. And regarding onboarding more users on Alonzo testnet, I think IOG will publish the guidelines soon. So we have been following the exercises on GitHub from IOG, which will be released to rest of the SPU community soon. And I think we all should follow input output on Twitter. So because all the updates that they will give will be on that platform. So stay tuned.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Yeah, that's one thing I really enjoy about the community is there's never that feeling that you're alone. You always have that feeling of being able to open up and ask for help. So it's nice that you have that feeling here with the test nets. And
Yeah,
exciting
definitely.
also, as we move closer towards Goguen, I feel like there's going to be even more people coming in. So
Mm.
just to think about it also, just from your experience being in the Pioneers program, you might actually be in that position where you're offering a helping hand and bringing in new people. So it's exciting. That's really cool. So I wanted to move on and touch on as far as how you had entered into the Pioneers program. So you had talked about being invited by the stake pool operator behind StakeNut's stake pool. As far as what you've tested so far, so if we can talk about some of the exercises that you've gone through, like what is the training process like? So things like that.
Sure thing. So when I started on Alonzo Blue, IOG shared a repository in GitHub with us. So in that we had the list of exercises that we were supposed to do. So the prerequisite was to set up a node to Alonzo era in our testnet, and then I set up my kBlocks stake pool using Alonzo node and Alonzo version of Cardano CLIs to check if staking functionality is working fine in Alonzo as well. Then after that, we started working on the exercise, which was submitting transactions containing basic Plutus script. So we got a Plutus script that was pre-made by IOG, and we generated the address to which we had to send the test data. That was the normal send transaction, except that we had to create the datum value. So this is something special to smart contracts. So in this case, it was like a unique passcode which would be used to redeem our ADA eventually. That was the part of exercise. Then we ran another command to convert this datum value into a hash, and finally we deposited the ADA. Then the second part of the exercise to redeem those deposited data from the smart contract. So we needed the datum value, which was like the passcode in this case. Then we passed a few ADA for collateral. So that collateral is only in case the script fails, then it will be consumed. Then there is another field or parameter, redeemer value, that we had to pass through. It is also unique to smart contracts. Then we passed execution unit, which is like time and memory that a smart contract will consume. This is also unique to smart contracts. And once we passed all these value, we redeemed our data from smart contracts. So the this all the thing that you must have seen my tweet around the Plutus quiz. So that was the exercise that we did
Nice.
in this phase. Yeah. And the next exercise is a bit difficult, in which we had to create our own Pluto script. So I'm currently working on it. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, yeah, fingers crossed. No, I saw that tweet. Um, I saw the engagement from that tweet, and I was completely blown away with the amount of interest and excitement that there was from the community.
Yeah.
So it's amazing, just to think about how we are making these progressive steps towards Goguen, and then what's actually possible after Goguen. I mean, you're going through the training process right now. So
Yeah.
you're going through that learning curve, but then once you get that training under you and you're able to really have some fun with Plutus, I think that's when it's going to get interesting.
Yeah, Goguen can't come soon enough.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's really
Yeah.
cool. So as far as your sentiment about it, I guess that's a perfect segue. Talking about the amount of excitement from the community. How do you feel that the Plutus Pioneers program is going so far? I mean, do you feel like there was anything that you enjoyed, or do you feel like there's anything that you would have done differently, or what are your feelings on that so far?
Yeah, so these are still early days, but so far so good. And I love that everyone on the this program is super helpful, and they're all, even when you ask a question in the middle of the night, there would be someone or the other who would be ready to answer. So this is something which is very unique to our community, I have to say. And regarding my experience of coding smart contracts on Cardano, it is overall a very safe and predictable programming model as compared to other blockchains. But as you said, that Plutus language does have a bit of a learning curve, but it will come with time. And the good thing with Plutus and or Haskell is that they are very less prone to defects. So on top of that, we have very amazing testing tools like Quick Check that validates a lot of scenarios as compared to normal testing tools on other blockchains. So our smart contracts will, of course, have very less defects as compared to others.
I see. Yeah. And I wanted to get into that in our conversation as well, just talking about why Plutus. But before we do, I know as far as I guess, the training involved with writing these applications, a lot of people are getting into Cardano and they're interested in learning Haskell. So just from your experience so far, I mean, I know that you have a background as a developer, but would you say that the Haskell programming language is one that is something where new people coming in might want to avoid, or do you feel like there are other things that they could do to learn Haskell to get to that point? I guess in another way of putting it, like, is it easy to code smart contracts on Cardano? Like, what's the benefits of Plutus?
Yeah, so as of now, Cardano is only supporting Plutus to code smart contracts, but it will be programmable in other languages in near future. And I know that IOG must be working very hard on getting it launched. So there is this for ETH developers who wants to code on Solidity. They can use KEVM framework, which is not there yet, but IOG is working on it, which will allow ETH developers to code smart contracts on Cardano. And eventually, Yala, a virtual machine, will enable all other programmers to code smart contracts on Cardano blockchain. But if someone wants to launch smart contracts right away, then I would suggest that they um, enroll or check out the Plutus Pioneer Program by Dr. Lars. So this actually gives a very comprehensive end-to-end picture of how they can learn Plutus. So that would be really helpful.
Okay, that's very cool. Yeah, I'm going to make sure we leave those links down in the description. It's nice to see that with the Plutus Pioneers, it's now made available, like the content and the lectures. It's on YouTube. I feel like I saw a post that was saying that if you weren't in that first cohort, now you have access to this content and this material. So I really like that they're not closing it off, even though there are a certain group of people like yourself right now who are getting the training, but they're still making the content publicly available. I think that's a really important thing with getting people up to speed with Plutus and Haskell.
Definitely, yeah. That's such a noble initiative. And Dr. Lars did a great job too.
Yeah. Yeah. Super brilliant guy.
Yeah, amazing.
So as far as the KEVM and Yella, so you had mentioned those. I guess for people who might not be aware of what those are, could you tell us a little bit about what it is and why it's important?
Sure. So, I'll take the current state. Currently, if a developer is in Ethereum ecosystem and they want to code smart contract in Solidity language, then they run it on EVM, which is Ethereum virtual machine. But after Goguen is launched, then Cardano is planning to provide e-developer to have the ability to code smart contract in Solidity language. So they won't have to learn a new language altogether. But instead of running it on EVM, which is Ethereum virtual machine, they will run the smart contract on KEVM, which in simple terms, you can say it is the Cardano version of EVM. So it is an implementation of EVM, which is developed by runtime verification. So it will basically make no difference for other developers, Ethereum developers, to create smart contracts on Cardano. And once that setup is up and running, KEVM, then Cardano is planning to provide Yala, which is again a virtual machine. But the only difference between KEVM and Yala is that on Yala, anyone can code. So it will allow universal compatibility. So this means it is possible to write smart contracts in several different languages besides Solidity. For example, Python, Java, C++, anything you can think of.
That's so cool. I remember that Charles had released a video titled "The Pond, the Island, and the Ocean."
Yeah.
And you remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it ties into the analogy perfectly, because when you think about the small subset of people that knows Haskell, right? And then you think about what we're trying to do with building this world computer with Cardano and blockchain, and then creating the tools so that pretty much anybody with any programming background and any experience can start writing applications. It's going to be exciting once we do see that. And then with the full functionality of Goguen, I think that Cardano is going to become this vacuum, like even the developers that have already built applications on Ethereum, the problems that they're facing with the high gas fees and the slower transaction settlements coming over to Cardano very easily, even things like the ERC20 converter, right? All these things, it's just like Cardano is really setting itself up to just absorb all of this talent. It's amazing.
Yeah, and literally, I can't wait to see how the developers will enjoy coding on Cardano once all this setup is up and running, because for sure it would be an amazing experience. I can already imagine.
Yep. Yep, definitely. I'm looking forward to it. So I wanted to ask you for the developers who are ready to start building. So let's say, I mean, because I know right now you're going through the training process with the Plutus Pioneers and the Alonzo Testnets, but let's fast forward a few months. So Goguen is released. We are now able to write smart contracts on Cardano. So how can developers start building? So what tools are available as soon as we are out the gate for these developers?
Yeah, so to start with, Cardano will only allow coding on Plutus. So if you really want to build smart contracts, you have to know Plutus. But eventually, we will release KEVM and then Yala. But if you want to start learning on how to code on Cardano, then I would suggest have a look at amazing content that is created by Cardano community, including us. So we have founded Lovelace Academy along with Maria, who is operating cards, and she has been a regular guest on Kaizen Crypto as well. And Keith, who is operating Safe Stack Pool, and he was also a part of Lovelace Academy video that we did a few months back. So we founded Lovelace Academy specifically to help developers onboard on Cardano. So for developers who want to build on Cardano, currently we see there are a lot of resources here and there, but there is not one go-to place where they can just go and find end-to-end documentation, which is easy to understand and at the same time easier to copy paste so that you can execute the code right away. So, with this problem statement in mind, Keith, who is our co founder and also the CTO of Lovelace Academy, has created learn.lovelace.academy, where developers can find simple codable documentation starting from scratch. So, it is up and running. So, you can literally go and hit learn.lovelace.academy and check out our documentation. So we even got funded by Project Catalyst in Fund 2 round. So if you are a developer who wants to start building on Cardano but don't know where to start, then I highly recommend that you visit our website. Along with that, we also have a YouTube channel with the same name, Lovelace Academy, where you will find useful videos, and we are slowly and gradually building up our subscriber base. So currently we are 700, but hopefully we'll get more and more with the launch of Goguen.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's so cool to see your progress with that too, because even the content, the material, it's all over the place, like you said, but then having a one-stop shop where people can go to have all this data in one place, and to see your progress with that as well, coming from Fund 2, right? Fund 2 with Project Catalyst. And then here we are. So it's amazing. It's amazing. And then also
and
for,
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, sorry. No, I just wanted to add that we recently got a very positive feedback from developer communities who have used our Lovelace Academy. So they are really liking the documentation. So that's why I really recommend you check it out.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to make sure I leave those links down in the description. So if anybody does want to check it
That would
out, yeah, if you guys want to get started with writing smart contracts, I feel like that's a great place to get started. So, Shweta, we talked quite a bit about Plutus and all the cool stuff happening. One thing I wanted to ask you about is Marlowe. So, this is something that I was really intrigued by because for somebody like myself, I don't have a programming background. I mean, I started a stake pool, I've got that under my belt and very grateful for all the support with our stake pools. But I'm still interested in writing applications on Cardano. So I wanted to ask you about Marlowe and what your thoughts are on that and writing financial smart contracts.
Yeah, it's definitely very easy, and the good thing is that it is meant for people who has a lot of domain language, but they are not very familiar with the coding language. So I'm sure you must have checked out Marlowe Playground.
Yes.
So yeah. So I did try that actually, and I found it really very easy because I come from insurance industry, and that is under finance, and there are so many use cases that are very tedious and time taking in the real world. But if we can implement it on blockchain, it would be very less time consuming and faster. So I did try a few basic level use cases of insurance industry and Marlowe, and I was blown away by it. It is so easy to code and to see the results right away. So I loved it. What about you? Did you like it?
Yeah, I played around with it a little bit just to see what it was about. And the one thing I really like about it is the user interface aspect. So they've got this thing called Blockly. It's almost like you're creating a puzzle. So
Yeah.
you have to fit the pieces of the puzzle together and you write this financial smart contract. So I guess the hardest thing in my eyes would be trying to understand the logic behind what each of these pieces does. But then I think that once you get that, and once you've kind of figured out, okay, this is the value for this segment of the puzzle, and then you just kind of fit those pieces together. I feel like with a little bit of practice, pretty much anybody is going to be able to write these applications. So I just think that's
Yeah.
so exciting.
Yeah, because on the left hand side they have explanation for all the types of blocks that they are using in Blockly. So it makes us, if you're not able to understand it 100%, then maybe you will understand it 80%, and then you can hit and try and see. And if anyone has any question, then Cardano community is always available to answer. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yep. For sure. For sure. So Shweta, we talked a lot about financial smart contracts, Plutus Pioneers Program, Alonzo testnets, lots of cool things coming up as far as the rollout towards Goguen. So I wanted to ask you as we wrap up our conversation today, just some final thoughts on what you're excited about coming up with Cardano. I know you've got a lot going on with Lovelace Academy. You've got your stake pool, kBlocks. So I'm sure that's been keeping you busy. But aside from all the stuff you've been working on, what are you excited about going into the rest of this year?
Yeah, so definitely looking forward to the release of Goguen, because once that is launched, then there are so many smart contracts that we can build on blockchain. So since smart contracts use blockchain technology to, facilitate the exchange of money, property, information, or basically anything, there is no need of any middlemen like banks, lawyers, or home brokers. So there are no third parties involved, which saves a lot of time and it streamline the transactions. So yeah, I think the biggest thing that I'm looking forward is the DeFi on
Yeah.
Cardano once Google is launched. So Liquid, he was there a few days back, I think, DC. So really looking forward to how this liquid protocol will work around Cardano. and also MinSwap. So these are the two things that I'm pretty excited about.
Nice. Yeah, likewise, likewise. I think that DeFi is going to be exciting. I mean, just to think about what we saw on Ethereum with the Uniswaps and the MakerDAOs, but then having it so that it's on Cardano with projects like Liquid, super cool. We had a conversation with DC just a couple of days ago, and I really enjoyed that. But absolutely, so many exciting things coming up. I can't wait for it.
Yeah.
So, Shweta, I really appreciate the conversation. Thank you for coming on to speak with us today. As far as how our viewers can support your work, I know you've been doing quite a bit with the Plutus Pioneers Program. You've got your stake pool. Where can people go to find out more about what you're doing, and how can they support you?
Yeah, you can start with delegating to kBlocks, and my ticker is block. And just follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Shweta Chauhan. Yeah, my DMs are open, so feel free to ping me anytime. I will respond as soon as possible. And stay tuned. Follow us. Follow Kaizen Crypto for more updates.
Yep, definitely. I can't wait for all the exciting stuff coming up. So Shweta, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. I learned a lot. All the best, of course, as you go through the different phases of the Plutus Pioneers Program, and can't wait to keep up with your progress.
Thanks, Kaizen, for inviting me. And have a great day. Cheers.
Awesome.
Bye.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Cheers.